Welcome to Common Sense Podcast. My name is Patrick Francis, and I am here today, and we're going to talk to you about the cost of college. So, the big question is, how much should college cost? Should I take out loans? Should I even go to college? What type of career do I want when I get to college, and will I get a job when I get out? So, we're going to answer a lot of these questions and more with Dr. Lewis and Renee Shepard. So stay tuned as they're about to come on now.
Welcome to the Common Sense Podcast, where money makes sense.
Hello there, Miss Renee. How you doing?
Hi, how are you?
All right. Happy to have you back on the show as the host of the Common Sense Podcast.
Happy to be back.
All right. So we have some good topics here today. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you take it over from here and let you introduce our guests. So you ready?
I am ready.
All right.
Okay, so hello everyone. I am V. Renee Shepard, and we have a very special guest. Now, this particular gentleman, Dr. Lewis, has a very extensive background in private and public institutions, over 20 years experience, as a matter of fact. Let's bring him on so he can give us a little bit of knowledge.
How are
Dr.
you, V.
Lewis,
Renee?
how are you?
I'm doing well.
Wonderful. So, Dr. Lewis, can you give our listeners a little background on you and your vanguard of higher education?
Well,
As
thanks, V. Renee.
it is.
First of all, for
Yes.
being on the show with you. It's good to see you again.
Yes.
Just a little bit about my history. I've gone everywhere from being a principal of a high school to going through the collegiate atmosphere of university, bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhD, program chair for information technology. Moved up to dean, been a president, been executive director, first African American vice president of academics, operations, and compliance, and executive director in a predominantly PWI institution. So
Wow.
a lot to be proud of.
A lot to be proud of. Absolutely. And so you've navigated through many different avenues of the educational system. And so you probably know the ins and outs of how all that works.
Absolutely. Been in charge of all the different departments from admissions to finance to career services to academics, to student affairs. So I know the gamut of higher education.
Okay. So we've seen education at many levels work for some people and not so well for others, right?
Correct.
And we're also in a very new modernized age where you can't believe everything you Google, but we're a long ways away from our grandmother's encyclopedia set, right? So
Correct.
tell me, what's the importance, or why should anyone either go to college or maybe not go to college?
Okay, I would say this. First of all, the benefits of going or not going to college, it really lies within you. Number one is that you want to make sure that it's the right decision for you, that it fits your life, it fits what's going on in your life at that particular point in time. And then ultimately, where do you want to end up? Where do you want to be at the end of that educational cycle? I've seen people that go to school just because their parents wanted them to go to school. Well, that's not a benefit to you as a person, because at the end of the day, you only did it because someone told you to do it. The benefit
Right.
is when you're doing it for yourself. And that's what makes the difference. And that also is the thing that keeps you either motivated or demotivated while you're going to school. It's that process of going through financial aid and going through admissions and filling out scholarship papers and all those types of things. If there's no motivation there, it probably stops pretty quickly.
That's probably true. So outside of the parents sort of enforcing kids to go to college right out of high school, if I'm 17 and I'm 18, I may not know exactly who I am or what I want to do with my life, right?
Correct.
Um, how important is it for me to have that figured out? Because I'm told as soon as I graduate from high school, I should go to college. So if I haven't figured out what I want to do, what should be my plan of action?
So I think the first plan of action is whether you're forced to go or you just go on your own because you don't really know what it is that you want to do, you need to
Right.
decide which type of education is really going to be there for you. For most
Okay.
people, a lot of people will go to a junior college. They'll go and just take basic education class because they don't know what field or what career they want to choose.
Makes
So
sense.
therefore, they may pick a community college to go get their basic education requirements, go get those 30 hours in general education, and then
Right.
decide to transfer to a university setting at a later point. But at some points, education for a university or college is not necessarily for everyone, but there's also an alternative route that they can go as far as trade schools. Because
Okay.
believe it or not, there are a lot of trades out there that aren't taught in major universities. So when you look at electrical engineering, for instance, well, electrical
Mhm.
engineers, the engineers are the ones that's designing the systems and those types of things. But there's also people that
Right.
actually have to go work on those systems. So
True.
that's normally done at a trade school where you got people who are actually designing. You also have the people who actually go and do the physical work. So you have to make a decision whether or not you want to be there for 4 years or you want to be there for 9 months to a year and a half in some cases.
Okay. Um, that's actually a really good advice to send. I think community college is definitely also a cheaper route, right?
Yes,
Less
absolutely.
expensive?
Co-
Definitely less
Community
expensive.
colleges, yes, definitely. The costs are normally cheaper. If you decide at some point you really don't want to go, you haven't wasted as much money. You haven't wasted your financial aid or your Pell Grants and those types of things. So that may be a better route if you're really not sure you're ready yet.
It's a great advice. Another thing, I have a daughter who's in I'm sorry, college.
Congratulations.
Yes, she's a sophomore, and one of the things that I try to tell her is that it's important that whatever she decides to do to just be the best at that thing. So even if her career path changes, she needs to be the best at that thing. The problem is that while she's figuring that out, her mom has to help pay for college. Very expensive. So, what are some of the things that students can do, or maybe parents can do to sort of alleviate that outside of maybe college 529 or those type of savings accounts? Like, what can they do to better prepare their students for college, I should say?
One of the biggest things that I recommend for parents, especially around that ninth to 10th grade year, is that you need to start preparing. If you decide to go or if you decide not to go. Even beyond that particular point, further back, if you're in a one parent or two parent household, doesn't really matter. You should be thinking about your child's future at an early age. Just
Sure.
putting certain amounts of money away during that particular point in time later on in life will allow you to have the money that you need when because college costs have continued to rise and they're still rising and we're still to see tuition increases. Looking at
Yes.
those scholarship opportunities very early, 11th grade, 12th grade, if you're people of color looking for scholarships that benefit you as a person of color,
Yes.
we call it the brown people, right?
Okay.
Whether you're African American or you're Hispanic or Asian American or whatever you want to call it, you're looking
Right.
for those opportunities. There are grants out there for people that if you're left-handed or you're right-handed or you're from an
True.
Indian tribe or those types of things to
Right.
do your research and go out and get that information. Most universities have a list of scholarships and they have a list of grants and opportunities that people can tap into. But here's the thing:
Good.
they'll only give them to you if you ask for.
That
Is
part.
that they're not volunteers. For
They are
those
not
people,
volunteer.
yeah,
That
I know, for instance, nursing is one of the big ones that's out now. You have educational opportunities through the Army and through here in Texas specifically, Texas Workforce Solutions and those that they will basically pay for them to go to school as long as they go through.
really
So, but they have to go out there and apply for those things, and those aren't things that are readily available to the public that people would know.
true. That's so true. If you don't ask, they will not come knock on your door and give it to you. Oh my God. Okay, so what are some of the faux pas or the mistakes that you see people make? Just that you want to let the people know, hey, listen, guys, these are a few things that I see you guys doing that you shouldn't be doing or you should do differently. Do you have just general advice?
Yeah, some things I would say that you do and you don't do. First of all, there are so many versions of education that are out there right now.
Right.
COVID-19 has exposed so much in the higher ed arena that where we just use the traditional education where we go to the brick and mortar and this is the way you're supposed to do it and you're
Right.
supposed to go out and be great after this is over.
Right.
Well, my master's degree was in education. and I had an emphasis in online learning theory. And a lot of people said to me, like, why would you do that? Like, nobody's doing online. People don't respect online or whatever. Blah, blah. But now here we
Change
are
it.
in
Here we are.
2020 and 2021, and
Here
every
we
major
go.
university in the country and in the world pretty much has an online division or a hybrid division and those types of things, because
Absolutely.
learning has become a different thing. Even your own job,
Absolutely.
sometimes they do training sessions
Online.
within the online environment. So
Absolutely.
things have totally changed, and now people are starting to respect online degrees even more so, because they're realizing that the same rigor that's in the classroom has to be translated over, because the accreditation bodies still require the people to have masters and PhDs to teach.
Right.
It still requires that you have to turn in this, you have to know when they're in school, those type of things, and you have to have those visits, whether it be from financial aid, Title IV, or whether it be from the accreditation body like SACS accreditation or ACCSC on a national level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I have one personal question.
Okay.
Okay. So, as a person who is in the arts and who has taught arts classes, fine arts classes, things of that nature, okay, I've noticed that even in as adults, people learn differently.
Correct.
Kids, they learn differently. Some are kinesthetic, some are more audiovisual, some are just everybody, some people can pick up a book, read, and they can completely consume and understand everything that they've read. And some, my daughter's more of a kinesthetic, so she has to act it out, see, touch, feel. You know, what do you think are, how can I ask this? How do you think we could better construct the education system if by chance we end up back in classrooms in a more normal way, which we may not, but who knows? How can we reconstruct our education system to conform better to the different types of learning styles? I feel like kids get left by the wayside because they're forced to learn in a way that's not the most constructive for their learning style.
Okay, and that's a very, very good
You know what I mean?
observation, V. Renee. Simply because a lot of people like to refer to them as learning styles, but the reality is we all learn in all four of those styles, whether it's kinesthetic, auditory, visual, or auditory. We hear, like for instance, you can tell your daughter, "Don't touch that stove," and then she may be like, "Oh, I need to touch it to see if it's going to be hot or not." But you told her
Right,
don't touch it, and she heard you
right.
when you said it. She
Yes,
learned the lesson, but she
yes.
chooses to then act upon it the way that she wants to act upon it. So
Okay.
when you talk about education and the construct of teaching in a classroom, you can't be, "Oh, I'm just going to write on the board and everything's going to be okay. Everybody's going to learn it that way."
Right,
That's not the way that they're going to do it. But now you
right.
may have to get up. I remember one of my instructors in eighth grade. He would stand on the desk, do perpendiculars with his hands, or do
Yes,
tail it, those types of things. And it caught our attention. It made us remember things, and it brought about those things. Mnemonics are
right.
big things that are out now. The ABCs, they'll teach you all these different things. Math has changed from the way we used to do it, where
Correct.
now they have squares and blocks that they have to
Not,
multiply
not understanding
and
that at all, but yeah.
right, all of those things. So it's
Correct.
just a different way of thinking. But the biggest
True.
part of that I would throw out there is the education from the faculty side. You have to have
Okay.
people who are in the classroom, who are really there for the student, that want the student to really be successful and learn. Because again,
Right.
once again, unfortunately, everybody gets this mindset of, this one's going to make it, that one may not make it. I'm going to put more energy into this one and maybe not so much in that one, and
Right.
that becomes a fault to the educational construct. You got to have people who really are there to make sure that those students get what they need.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Okay. So, Mr. Francis, aka Doc, our co-host typically, I'm sure he was putting up questions. I apologize if I wasn't asking those questions because my screen is frozen. But Mr. Francis, do you have any questions for Dr. Lewis?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I think he answered pretty much all of them, but it was a question in regards to where you said, how do they get help? And you mentioned the instructors are very important and play a huge role in regards to that, because if the instructor is not willing to help you, who do you go to? So kind of walk us through, like, if you're having to go through several channels to get help, and how do you know, okay, this is time for me to go get some help because I'm about to fail, or my financial aid hasn't gone through yet. I know procrastination hurts a lot of people, so kind of touch a little bit on that for us.
Okay, there are so many avenues of help that you can seek. It can start from the admissions process. You're trying to figure out what documents that you need. You go to your admissions rep. Financial aid, you want to make sure that you have all the documents that you need. And if you're really not sure, go back to the admissions rep, because that's the first relationship that you build with any institution. Then you're beyond that particular point, you're in the classroom. It seems like you're struggling just a little bit. It seems like maybe you're just not getting the concepts. You reach out to your instructor. If your instructor is not available, there are academic counselors that are normally on campus. If you can't find an academic counselor, go to a provost office, go to a chancellor office, go to a vice president office. Normally, someone there, the receptionist or the directors of first impression, should be able to get you to where you need to go. But everybody on that campus should be a walking "How may I help you" sign, because ultimately, at the end of the day, you're there to get that education. You're there to become the best person, like V. Renee said earlier, that you want to be in the field that you've chosen. And you should not allow anyone or anybody to stop you from getting what you came for. That means if you got to ask 17 people along the way, even ask your people that are walking on the campus, your fellow students, your fellow classmates, begin to ask them questions. But there is no question that will ever be a dumb question when it comes to you financing and completing that education and getting that degree.
I agree.
Very, very well said.
Very well said.
And as we get to the end of the show, before we get to the final thoughts and your final words, I just want to let everybody know that under your tutelage, I worked under you as a financial aid director and as an enrollment director, and was able to not only learn more about just thinking outside of the box, but it was very intriguing when I heard you say about how now we're in a situation where everything's online.
Yeah.
And while we were at the previous school, guess what we did? We made everything pretty much virtual like 3 years ago. So it was a lot of forward thinking and a lot of thinking outside of the box when it came to how you operated as an operations person. So it was a good experience, and I've taken that experience and taken a little bit of that from a lot of different leaders onto my next journey in life. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, let me first say to you, Doc Patrick.
Right.
He has many names, but it was my pleasure to be able to mentor you because you made it easy. People, even in the education arena, students in the classroom, when you make it easy, you have the willingness and the hunger to learn. It makes it easier to pour into a vessel that's open to receive it. When the vessel is closed, there's nowhere for the flow to go. So you want to make sure that you're always open to receive those particular types of things. And guess what? You made it that simple. Of course, that forward thinking. But I want to say this to you, and I want to say this to everybody who's watching. You got to get out of the box, because there is no box. There's no reason to think outside the box, because you should destroy everything that puts you in a box. You got to be able to be free. You got to be able to be in free reign. You got to be able to think and exercise and stretch your mind and move your mind to different levels, because that's what it's all about. The educational arena is all about invention and creativity, because when you go out into that field, you're going out to add something to that journey: social impact, social justice, or just a new invention to the area. These things weren't created. Someone had to think about them, and they got credit for those things. So why not allow these new students in this new generation, as well as those who are on their way, to be able to also exercise those thoughts and those things? And I'll say this: don't ever think you're too young or too old to go to school. My oldest student that graduated, she was 105 years old when she graduated, and she died at 107. So for those who say that they can't do it, there's not enough time, I just don't think I can. Guess what? Think about that 105-year-old lady who had nothing at all. She wanted nothing to do with the degree. She just wanted to show that she could complete the journey.
Creative, intentional movement Anytime
Yeah,
somebody's saying move purposefully, move intentionally, and move with creativity, it's always empowering. So I appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
absolutely.
invite.
Yeah. Great
Yeah.
show. And as far as the it was another question about financial aid and what types of financial aid. And on the surface, it sounds very simple, but once you get in the weeds, coming from the financial aid background and yourself, Sylento, it can be very confusing to a lot of people, especially if it's the first time. And the other
It
thing
can
is,
be.
financial aid basically evolves and changes every single year. So
Yes.
what you knew last year or even 5 years ago is out the window and it's totally different. And what we're doing, we staying up to date on the new changes. There's new changes that's coming up that we already know about in the upcoming future, like as soon as next year, and some of it is this year. So if you need assistance, make sure you reach out, inbox us. Would you like to share how they can contact you or how can they follow you, Sylento? And then once you tell them that, can you leave them with some final words, some more, just a couple of words before you leave?
Okay.
Whoa, drop so much knowledge.
Well, you can follow me on Facebook. It's Sylento R Lewis on Facebook, and then on Instagram, I'm Syro75, SY for Sylento, RO for Rodriguez, LE for Lewis. So Syro75 on Instagram. But I'll say this to you. The best thing I can always say to anybody, and my most motivational word is that excuses are monuments of nothing. They build bridges that lead to nowhere. And those who use these tools of incompetence are usually masters of no thing or nothing. So what I say to you is that there is no wall, there's no journey, there's no box, there's no anything. All it is that you put one foot in front of the other. And if you want the help, there are people out here that are willing to help you. If you have any questions or anything, please always feel free to reach out to me. I won't charge you for it. I'm not trying to get a dime out of it. My thing is, if I can educate and empower the community, then guess what? That's my job to pay it forward.
Amen.
All right, I appreciate that, and those words are true. So thank you very much
Yeah.
for coming to join the Common Sense podcast today. And we had a lot more questions, so we will definitely need to get you back on for a part two.
Would love
Absolutely.
to be on. Would love to be on.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, you have a great evening, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you, Renee and Pat.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. Awesome show, V Renee. Appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. No, he's a great guy.
Yeah. So before we get off, how about you let the people know what's going on with Expertise Talk? Because I've seen some stuff that's going on online, and y'all doing a whole lot. So tell them what they're
Well,
missing if they're not on your page already.
okay, so Expertise Talk is an extension or a platform of She Power LLC. And my whole mantra is to get people to live good, feel good, and be good. Okay. Um, Expertise Talk will be extensively looking at therapy, different versions of therapy, different forms of therapy. So we'll be going to various therapeutic places like counselors and acupuncture and all the things, just different therapeutic things. There's a one place where you trash things and throw things around for therapy. Some people go to the gun range. Some people, it's just different things that people tell you can do. There's aromatherapy, and then there's like music therapy, dance therapy. So
Mhm.
I have made various appointments, and I'll be interviewing these therapists, and I'll also be giving you my feedback and reviews, and hopefully I'll have Mr. Doc here as one of my co-hosts
Oh
to
yeah,
go and
definitely.
enjoy the therapy with me and then give the feedback from your point of view so people can kind of get an insight on um, what that provides and just kind of take some of the anxiety off of what those different therapeutic things are. So Expertise Talk is definitely therapy is gonna be the focus. Um, we'll also have some fun stuff. We'll have some fun topics, obviously, where we still discuss relationships. But I
Hmm.
think a lot of the breakdown in relationships is due to the fact that a lot of us need therapy.
Right, right.
So
And that's a
they go
great,
hand in hand. Yeah.
yeah, that's a great niche because it's like so many different ways to do it. But
Hmm.
some people are stuck with, okay, I can only maybe just go to the gym, or maybe I just need
Right.
to do that, and that's it.
Right.
But there's
Right.
like, you just name a few things that I have never heard of and thought about.
It's so
So you never know until you try it. I mean, this might be a good way that you're doing it now, but it might have an even better way that you never even thought about. So that's some
exactly.
good stuff. So make sure we're going to leave the tagline and all the ways to follow you on
Sure.
Expertise Talk, right?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to make sure we leave that on the post. So say it again.
That's it. Awesome.
Oh yeah, so this is how you follow Common Sense. Make sure you subscribe, follow, share on YouTube. So this will be on this went live on YouTube right now. Also
Great.
on Facebook, Common Sense 11, and even on Twitch. So we're gonna also put snippets of it on Instagram and post the YouTube link on Instagram as well. So it's
Awesome.
a great show. Once again, we got to get Dr. Sylento Lewis back on the show again because it's that time. It's college time. People are either in spring semester or in modulars, and summertime's coming up. A lot of people did not go to school or go back to school because of the pandemic.
Right.
So now it's time to rev it back up. Fall
Yes.
semester is coming up next, summertime. So especially fall is the big time of the year in August. So let's get ready for that. We'll definitely have them back on before that starts up. So
Awesome.
all right. Any final words, Miss Renee?
Every day in every way, we should try to get better and better.
Exactly. All right. And so I'm telling everybody to mask up, stay safe, stay prayed
Please
up,
mask up.
and
Please stay safe.
keep a positive mindset. And with that, we are out. You have a good one.
Yeah.